Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo, and headlines are kind of what rules the worst in regards to clickbaiting and getting people to watch, eyeballs on screen, things like that. And I always get really annoyed when I come across a headline that is really geared at getting you to click on it because it omits a lot of information, but it really knows how to tug on those strings. And that's this article here. FedEx driver will not be charged after fatally punching man who called him racial slurs. Now, reading that headline right off the bat, the first thing I personally experienced was like rage. That like, whoa, wait, what? A dude punched a guy to death and is not going to go to jail because he was called a bad word? Like, come on. We've taught people over the years. We've argued don't use violence. If someone's using words you don't like, just leave it be. And of course, look, I'll be fair. Sometimes it's harder than you think. But in this particular case, punching somebody over that feels like it's an overkill. And then when you kill that person as a result, it becomes even worse. Though that's what the headline implies. Interestingly enough, that's not what the reality of the story is. So let's take a look. So a FedEx driver will not face charges in connection to a September death of a Portland man he fatally punched after the stranger called him racial slurs. Senior Deputy District Attorney Adam Gibbs said that Timothy Warren was in his right to challenge Joseph Magnuson, who witnesses said called the FedEx worker the N-word and other aggressive abuses and phrases. Now, right off the bat, still, this is Fox, so they're going to spin it one way, one way that they can. It already makes us feel like there's some severe injustice that's happening, right? But they're saying that this guy, that this FedEx driver will not, or this Timothy Warren guy did not have to walk away, right? He was not in his wrong to challenge this person hurling racial slurs at him. Again, that still is odd because we should be thinking about this from the perspective of don't use violence. But like I said, the story continues. Now, the incident occurred on September 26 in Portland when witnesses said Magnuson started the altercation by yelling at Warren very aggressively to slow down. When Warren tried to speak with Magnuson after stopping the vehicle, Magnuson called him racial slurs and threw a drink at the FedEx employee. Some witnesses said Magnuson also hurled a bag of food at Warren before he threw a punch that missed. Warren then hit Magnuson above his left eye, knocking him to the ground unconscious. Magnuson later died. There we go. See, there we go. Buried underneath literally 4 paragraphs at this point in the article is the nugget of truth that is what people want to know, right? Is that you have a FedEx driver, black FedEx driver, driving through Northeast Portland, which was when I lived there in the 90s and even in the 2000s, or up until like 2 years ago, was basically still predominantly black. At least it was when I was a kid. Now I think it's more hipster and whatever else. But he's driving around that neighborhood, gets the dude to yells at him, starts yelling racial slurs, which was terrible, should never happen. Gets out the car, tries to speak with the guy. The dude throws a drink, throws a bag of food, and then throws a punch. And when he throws the punch and it misses, the FedEx driver responds by throwing a punch back, hits him in the head, and the dude dies. Yeah, I would argue that is basically self-defense. In fact, this goes on to say here that Oregon law contains no duty to retreat, and Mr. Warren was within his right to exit his vehicle and verbally challenge the manner in which Mr. Magnuson was addressing him. Mr. Magnuson was the initial verbal aggressor. When Mr. Warren responded in kind, Mr. Magnuson then escalated and became the initial physical aggressor. Mr. Warren again responded in kind. So, yeah, that's pretty true. Right? It's pretty true. This is the problem with violence and the escalation factor. Right now, we could all sit there and argue that that Timothy Warren, the FedEx driver, should have 100% walked away. Right? Turn the other cheek, keep on driving. And honestly, I would argue that is what 98% of us are going to say. I'm saying that he should have done that. But there comes those moments when I think it's like you have to address it. And I think that's what he chose to do. I think in that moment, a dude yelling at him to slow down and yells at him from within the car and he gets out to talk to the guy. And then it just escalates and escalates and escalates to the point of where Magnuson started throwing items at him. Now, what I want to know is what was said from Warren's side, right? What was said from Warren's perspective and all of this. Like, what exactly is it he said to Warren to escalate it further? Because, it wasn't just he sat there and didn't exchange words, right? The deputy district attorney says here that, yeah, no, they both exchanged words. And then, of course, it became physical after that. So what exactly was said? Now, at the end of the day, no party is right in this one in regards to the actions. They aren't. I don't blame Timothy Warren for defending himself. I don't think he had any intention of killing this guy, but it does go to show you that these types of exchanges, these types of interactions do run the absolute risk of ending in physical violence and or death. It's just so weird that the dude got clocked once above the left eye, went down, and died at the hospital. Right? And so it's, it's many people out there would argue, don't let the racist comments get to you. And I would argue that too. But, at the same time, I like to put myself in the shoes of the other person. And I like to think, what if it was just one of the dude just said it and it just wasn't enough to respond back in kind? Because they always say, don't lower yourself to their level, but stand up for yourself. It becomes this weird kind of like confusing mantra in regards to self-defense, and when it comes to name calling, words are words, but sometimes it's like death by 1,000 cuts. Sometimes it just triggers it. Who knows if Timothy Warren had a bad day and that just triggered him to go out there and engage. And that sucks, but at the same time, according to the coroner's report, Magnuson, right, was also in pretty, extremely poor health. So it's entirely possible his body just couldn't withstand the hit. So many factors could have changed the outcome of this event. But at the end of it, this is where we are. Timothy Warren defended himself after having food items thrown at him and a punch thrown at him. A man who was in extremely poor health, probably wasn't even all the way there mentally, was struck, and the blow killed him, ultimately. And the man now faces no charges. But here's all of you that are angry right now about this, those of you that are seething that there was no charges, and I'm agreeing with the district attorney on this one. It was self-defense. I would say put yourself in Timothy Warren's shoes right now going forward. He has to live with the fact that he killed a guy. Yeah, he got away with it, if you want to look at it like that. He was, no charges filed. But that's still a stain on his soul, man. That is still a stain on his soul. That's something that would impact, I think, anybody. How do you get into a road rage incident, you yell at the guy, you're getting it all out of your system, it turns physical, you clock the dude after avoiding a punch in self-defense, dude goes down, dude dies. Your whole life changes. I'm not saying be empathetic or be sympathetic, but be empathetic. Be empathetic here. What if it was you? How would you feel? I bet you the guy's just glad that he's free, but I guarantee he probably lost his job as a result of this. He probably racked up a lot in legal fees and things like that too. His whole life has changed. Violence is not the answer. Stories like this 100% prove that, because you don't think that someone can die from a punch to the face. But here somebody did. Ultimately, because that guy could not stop himself from being aggressive and being racist. So, it's a reminder that we always need to check our emotions before we react. That's, I think, the point that I'm trying to make here. Right? Myself included. Check my emotions before I react. And that becomes difficult. Because I could see myself getting into a situation like Mr. Warren here. Right? If something just triggers me enough to where I get pissed, I go out there, I fight, and it happens. That's not who I am. It's not who most of you are. It's just something to consider. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off my soapbox and I leave it to you. Do you feel that Timothy Warren should be free? Do you feel that they did the right thing by not charging him? Do you feel that he is justified in his actions? These are things I'm curious to know. So go ahead and write them down in the comments. And while you're at it, go ahead and throw a thumbs up on the video too if you liked it. Subscribe if you're new and you just like the commentary that my face puts out into the internet. And if you want to help support the channel even more, patreon.com/mundanematt does help out the channel. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day and peace out.